Well, we will move on and get you another interesting story, development actually that took place in the Supreme Court, where the government has moved the Supreme Court seeking to keep adultery as a crime in the armed forces. The government in its plea has said that the Supreme Court 2018 judgment that decriminalized adultery should not apply to armed forces, where a personnel can be removed from service on grounds of unbecoming conduct, which is committing adultery with a colleague's wife. So essentially, this is the plea that has been filed, where the government says that adultery may cause instability within the armed forces, which is why it's taken so seriously, which is why discipline, which is the bedrock in forces, disciplinary action is actually taken in such instances. Because the government says discipline is a bedrock in forces essential for combat operations, that officers are away for months and you need a deterrence for deviant behavior in their absence. Government says that the military is especially worried about discipline amongst its ranks and that adultery should be kept as a crime for the peace and harmony of a regiment. Now, as you know, viewers, the Supreme Court, a 5-judge bench, had actually decriminalized adultery in our country about 2 years ago. The court said at that time, and the view is that adultery may not be right, may be unethical, cheating, may destroy lives, but it's not a crime for which you should be sent to jail. It cannot be treated as a crime. But in our armed forces, it is treated like it is a crime. It is taken very, very seriously. So should there be different rules when it comes to adultery for soldiers and for civilians? Should it be left to the armed forces to decide whether or not it needs to be a crime? Or should, like the rest of the world, the rest of the country, as we move along with times, should certain rules also change in the armed forces? Let's try and understand the nuances here, the pros and cons here, and see what should be the way ahead. Let's say good evening to Dr. Poonima Advani, lawyer and former chairperson of the NCW. Dr. Ranjana Kumari, director for Center for Social Research, joins us this evening. Good evening to you, ladies. But first up, I actually want to go across to General D.S. Hooda, former Army Commander of the Northern Command. Thank you so much, General Hooda, for speaking with us. I wanted to actually ask you to first explain to our viewers why this law has been there and why it's necessary as the government and the armed forces believe it is.
So thank you, Tanvi, for having me on your show. Let me just, put things in context. I'll make two brief points. The first is the larger context that we need to look at while looking at, the military as an organization. So we are aware the military has a unique organizational ethic, an ethic that promotes, values like comradeship, self-sacrifice, honor, integrity. Now, if you try and define these values in purely legal terms, it's very difficult. And therefore, they have a moral component, to it. But for us, these values are not just something that you talk about. These are essential for organizational functioning. And that's why, a lot of heed is paid to these. And therefore, in the army, there is a culture, where honorable behavior is rewarded and what we call unbecoming conduct is punished. And for us, you're talking about adultery, we're talking about this specific section is, stealing affection of a brother officer's wife. That's considered as unbecoming conduct. It affects the chain of command, it affects morale, it affects discipline, it affects unit cohesion. Let me just give you one brief example. Let's assume that you have a senior officer in an affair with a junior officer's wife, and tomorrow the senior officer calls the junior officer and puts him in a situation where he says you have to go on a mission, which is a matter of life and death. Now, how will that order be looked at by people? With suspicion, with complete sort of transparency. So these are things that are, I think, highly avoidable. And my second brief point is recognizing that the military has a unique culture. Countries around the world, not only India, have a separate military justice system. The military justice system, in some ways, is different from the normal legal sections, and there are different sets of laws that are applicable to the military. And it's not only in India. Let me just quote you an example of the U.S. military. In the U.S. military, fraternization, romantic relationships between officers and enlisted men is not permitted. It's legally not permitted. So it isn't something that we are looking at which is unique to the Indian military. And my last point is, if something is not broken, why do we try and fix it? So these laws have, these provisions in the Army Act have existed. I think unless we are finding that it's creating some kind of problem, let's leave it, because I think they have kept discipline, cohesion, organizational structures intact. So I think we should leave it at that.
General Huda, so currently, does it only apply in cases where you've stolen the affection of a colleague's wife? Is it also vice versa now that we have women in the armed forces in almost all categories? Sure. And does it also apply if adultery is committed with a civilian?
So the specific provision is for relationships within the military.
Yeah.
So at the time when the law was drafted, of course, there were no women officers, there were no women soldiers. Now that they are there, it's equally applicable to them too. There are no specific provisions of relationships, as far as I'm aware of, between civilian and military personnel.
Okay. Okay, so if we pick it up point by point, because there are issues that many have raised. One, of course, is the difference, if there is any, in whether it's the man who's committing adultery and facing the consequences, or the woman who's also committing the same crime, if it is a crime, and not facing the consequences. Ranjana Kumari, but as the personnel from armed forces say, it's a different system. We are out there fighting battles. We are depending on our regiment and our family and colleagues to take care of our families, and we cannot be betrayed. It cannot be taken lightly.
Well, let's go back to 98 judgment, where Justice Deepak Mishra made certain statements, and let's go back. I mean, I would love to read those statements to you all, but at the same time, let's see what adultery really is. Adultery is when a man has intercourse with wife of another man without his consent. Then it is adultery. If he gives a consent that you can use my wife, you can have intercourse with my wife, then it is not adultery. Fine. Now, what does that mean? I mean, it's not affection. It's not something which you are just romantically involved with someone, but you really go for this physical relationship with another woman who's also married, and you are also a married man, and then you are having that relationship without consent of her husband. So what is her agency? Does she decide about this relationship? Can she go for this? And I think that statement comes out very clearly in all the judges who made that statement at that point of time when they quashed it. Now, where does it emerge? Adultery. The word itself is wrong. Word itself means that you defile something, you mix something which is now kind of making the main product dirty, or not usable or whatever. I mean, it's really adulteration, and that comes from the British understanding. They themselves have done away with this law. They used to keep, and they've done away with this law, but we in India want to bring it back through in the name of military. I think military can have its own rules, and I don't see. You see, I want to quote just one very nice statement. Of course, I don't know how many people will really react to my statement, but Jesus Christ said that throw the stone if you have not committed that sin. So I don't know. I mean, what are people talking about at the moment? Men and women both have right. And if two consenting adults are having any kind of sexual relationship, then it cannot be, it is permitted in the law. You have to give the consent. That's what the most important part of the whole relationship is. So I think this is only the way, British used to think about their women. They brought that law in India, and we continue with that law for so long.
Right.
And in wisdom of 5 judges, that we have done away with that. So I don't see. Okay, so adultery is not a crime. It cannot be considered adultery. First of all, I don't want to use that word. I want to say having sexual relationship with another consenting adult woman is not a crime. If she has given the consent and you have the consent, is perfectly fine in that relationship. And a woman has as much right over her body and her agency as anybody else.
Yes.
So this is on this premises, it was challenged, it was done away with. So, hopefully, all the army seniors understand this and, try to just not get into what we got as a right as a woman in this country.
Okay, Purnima Advani, where do you stand on this debate? We've heard 2 different sides. Where do you stand?
Tanvi, I think the entire matter has been put into perspective by General Huda very beautifully. And the armed forces is they have a specific law right from 1958, which has ruled them. Now, that is a gender-neutral perspective. It's a different matter to say that at the time when the law came into existence, women were not part of the armed forces. But the law as such makes no difference between the man and the woman. Give me a minute. So the law says any manner behaves in a manner unbecoming of his position and the character expected of him. Unbecoming of his position is a very large dimension, which will include in it several behaviors, including sexual intercourse or what tantamounts to adultery. Now, adultery, as it stood in the criminal laws, was based on gender discrimination. It was based on the fact that a husband could sue the man who has intercourse with his wife. But the wife cannot sue either the woman or her husband who have intercourse. Now, this totally came from the British Old English system where the woman was considered to be a chattel of her husband.
Yes.
And therefore her morals were his ownership. But what the government has asked the Supreme Court today, before Justice Nariman, and now the matter goes to a 5-judge bench, so we have to wait and watch what they say, is for clarification that decriminalization does not impact the Armed Forces Act. So the armed forces, I think the provision is very clear.
So
unbecoming of the position.
Okay.
That would include, I would say, adultery, whichever side. You see, if the Jawan is going to the border, he's not going to live there under the pressure that somebody else is in an unbecoming position with his wife or with the husband. I think this is a gender-neutral provision, and I hope that the judges appreciate. But
he still lives under that pressure, isn't it? Because his wife may actually be back home with his family in a civilian zone where she will be interacting with civilians, and if there, this occurs, then it is not a crime. Isn't it, Purnima Advani, that these rules that were set up were from a time where we know that women and families were taken care of only by a certain set of men who were perhaps from the same regiment or unit or the armed forces. But today we don't live like that. Today spouses of soldiers are in civil. Today, men and women are taking care of themselves. Women take care of themselves. Women take their own decisions. So, does that mindset still prevail?
Tanvi, the law which has existed and which has not been challenged since 1958 and has its own set of regiments. And General Huda has explained that the entire regiment as it stands is based on high moral components, and there is a system of organizational functioning which has not been questioned till today. Now, till this provision remains, Section 45, which says unbecoming conduct and in a behavior which is not expected of character not expected from him. I'm sure that would include any act, whether it is from the woman or the man who's left behind if the woman goes to the borders and she's in the armed forces. And this kind of an additional protection is part of the Armed Forces Act. I don't think without understanding the nuances, and every person knows where the shoe
Can I
pinches.
come in here for a minute?
The
Just for a few
person
seconds.
who's the general from the armed forces says that this is something that is required. It is required in the hierarchy. The entire system of the armed forces stands on solid hierarchy. Are we wanting to tamper with it, especially when their role is so sensitive to guard the national security?
Okay, I have a question for General Huda, but before that, Ranjana Kumari, you wanted to respond to what Punni Wadhwani was saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think I just want to bring in a perspective here.
Yes.
Because I'm again going back to the judgment. Let me come back to that because that's where the whole debate happened and a lot of arguments came. Now, any law in the country cannot violate the Constitution of India. Isn't that right? I mean, and this law, one of the reasons why it was struck off was because it was really violating the individual rights given by the Constitution. And that was also quoted in the pronouncement that were made by the judges, that it is really violating the constitutional right, that is, Article 14 and 15. I think that's what it's quoted. And I can read that again to you, that this was another context in which the law was struck down. So I don't think any arm of the government or country or army or civilian, we have absolutely no right to violate the Constitution of India. And I think, again, when we are going back to the court or military is asking for it, I have full respect for General Huda, for anything that army is doing. I have full respect, but within that respect, I will not like any arm of the country or anybody to take away the constitutional right of human beings of this country as a citizen. And secondly, that I do not want to give away the autonomy, agency, and right of women over their bodies. They cannot be treated.
Nobody is saying that. I mean,
and you can't mistrust your army soldiers. I mean, how can you do that? I mean, on the basis of they showing extra affection to another person, you cannot destabilize anything. I think love is something which
I think we are going into a larger dialogue of what love is. That's not the point. That's not the point we are making. I have no quarrel with the constitutional norms which require Article 14, Article 15, which have to be upheld under every situation. I have no quarrel with the fact that there cannot be a gender bias in the law. But all that I'm trying to state again and again is the clarification being sought is that decriminalization does not in any manner impact the interpretation of a gender-neutral law, which is the Armed Forces Act, Section 45. Section 45 says unbecoming...
But those are technicalities of saying, this is... 1 minute, Dr. Advani, unbecoming conduct has a lot of different grounds for it where you can use this, right? One of them also being adultery. But the larger point, I think, which the Supreme Court will have to look at is, can it really be grounds for dismissal? Which is what I wanted to ask General Huda. And General Huda, I am now referring to a decision that was actually made and an order that was passed by the military court, by the Armed Forces Tribunal Court. This is a case in 2016, where the court then had scrapped the dismissal of an Indian Air Force officer who had been charged with adultery. And the court, in fact, at that point of time, did advise the Air Force to maybe... Air Force was advised against giving such harsh punishment. Do you believe there is perhaps scope for maybe reconsidering that system? That can it be grounds for dismissal? Or if it is about moral values and unprofessional conduct, then there is only one way, which is way out.
Dismissal is the maximum punishment. So it isn't as if every case has to be dealt with by dismissal. I also think the army is not saying that, the adultery law should not be applicable to the military. I don't think that's what they're asking. I think what they're asking is that Army Act Section 45 that says unbecoming conduct and talks about relationship within people who are in the organization. That provision should stand, and that the adultery law should not change that. So to say that the army is saying we must have a separate adultery law and everybody else must have a separate adultery law, I don't think that's what the demand is. The demand is, and let me tell you, are we saying something completely different? Don't you have administrative rules within your organization that tell you that juniors and seniors within an organization cannot get into relationships and fraternize? Those kind of administrative rules exist. That is what has existed for us. The impact of relationships like this is huge. I mean, really affects command control. It affects discipline. It affects the moral standing of a leader, of a senior who's indulging in this. So I think that's what the military is asking for.
Okay.
I don't think they're saying we must have a separate adultery law which is completely different from what is
They're
happening.
largely saying allow us to continue taking action the way we have so far, even though you have decriminalized it for the rest of the country. Well, I'm completely out of time, but thank you to all three of you for joining us. And I'm sure once the Supreme Court bench convenes and we hear arguments on both sides, perhaps we'll have more to discuss. As things stand right now, viewers, in our country, adultery is not considered a crime anymore. Legally speaking, it's not a crime anymore if you indulge in adultery. This is what the Supreme Court ruled, a 5-judge bench ruled in 2018. But as you heard, even from our experts, that within the armed forces, there is a separate code that functions. And within that code, it is looked down upon, it is frowned upon and taken very, very seriously, because it could lead to a lot of challenges and destabilize the entire situation. It could lead to impacting the morale of the soldiers, which is why they need to have stricter punishments for when it comes to things like adultery. At this point, the government is seeking clarification from the Supreme Court. We'll wait and watch and see how it proceeds. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.